Hi, hello, and welcome back. And howdy, broads, and howdy,
Howdy, howdy.
bitches. Howdy, howdy. Howdy, bitches. I love that. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to each other's soulmates. We are back with season 2, episode 17 now. Jesus, we're one away, aren't we? We are back with season 2, episode 17. What's it titled? It's such a long title. Why do they do this to us?
20-something girls versus 30-something women.
Ooh, a little healthy competition, maybe, or maybe not. We'll find out. We will find out. But yes, once again, we are each other's soulmate. We are a Sex in the City broadcast. We are two broads talking about our 4 favorite broads in New York City. And of course, it's a themed episode. Howdy, bitches. Howdy, bitches and broads. That's cute. But you will see as to why this is the theme episode. We're just having a little fun like we always do here. So come in, join the fun, and let's get started.
Hell yeah. So this episode, we discussed the difference between 30-something women and 20-something-year-old girls. We meet 3 very distinct and different 20-something-year-old girls. We meet Nina, Laurel, and Natasha. And we'll find out more about them as we go on. In this episode, we have Carrie, who runs into an old flame, but she gets an unexpected twist. Samantha gets betrayed by the 20-something she's been mentoring in a very intense way. Miranda cooks up some crabs for the ladies, and Charlotte pretends to be 27.
And if you've never seen, if you're just tuning in now, the girls, the main 4 broads, are girls of Sex in the City, are in their 30s currently, and they always have been. They've started the show in their 30s, so that's kind of the age frame that we're working with, and this is why we're doing a comparison of 30-something women and 20-something women also. So
Exactly. And
except for Samantha, though, we're always on the edge, right? She's in her 40s already.
For sure.
Yeah, but no,
Okay.
we've talked about this. She's definitely already in her 40s.
Okay.
So if not like barely 40, like early 40s for sure.
Yeah.
Her age is always tossed around until like we get like a definite towards in the later seasons.
Yeah,
But
I think we get a definite number in the first movie.
yeah, definitely in the
movie.
film. The films will always do that. But anyway, that's what we're doing. That's why we're doing a comparison episode. Yeah, so let's get into it.
Yeah. So as this episode begins, we start out with this sort of Brady Bunch kind of looking screen where they tell us this elaborate story. But long story short, Charlotte has a friend named Elaine, and Elaine and her husband each invited 2 single friends of theirs, 2 men, 2 women. And unfortunately, Rob started messing around with one of Elaine's friends, and things just got super awkward. So they had rented a summer share in the Hamptons. And for those who don't know, the Hamptons is a beachy area very close to New York City where a lot of people tend to go on vacation to, especially
summer. That's their summer in the Hamptons. That's where they summer.
If you've seen White Chicks, that's where they go. Like it's a very
it's the white party.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so Elaine calls Charlotte wanting to see if Charlotte will take over the house that they rented for the summer for the month of August. And Miranda expresses that she feels like they're too old for this, even comparing it to being the oldest kid at summer camp. This isn't something that women in their 30s do. But
just ridiculous,
and Samantha agrees, and she even says that her mentee, the person she's mentoring, Nina, has a summer share at a house with 18 other girls.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I would never share a house with 18 other women. I'd rather share a house with 18 other men. I'm just saying. I much rather. Girls are gross. Have you seen women's restrooms?
Have you seen men's restrooms?
Women's are worse.
Politely disagree. I make friends in the women's restroom. Anytime I've had to go into a men's restroom, I have to
No, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about public restrooms. I'm talking about the restroom you get ready in.
Oh, that makes a big difference.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Girls trip to Vegas, That room is trashed more than like a fucking band coming through. A
Oh my
wedding,
gosh.
forget it. Forget it.
Dude, for real. And they're like saying that Samantha said that Nina told her that they have to sleep in shifts, and they fucking shifts too. So that they
That's funny. That's
it's
very reminiscent of, see, it's like a band. It's like a
yeah,
fucking band.
it's
I
crazy.
love this episode though, like you mentioned, the whole like Brady Bunch like montage thing. It reminded me of the very first episode. You know, when they're telling that
Yeah.
story about the what was homegirl's name? The very
Elizabeth.
first Elizabeth. It felt like really kind of reminiscent of that first episode, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Yeah, definitely
a little
playing a lot more with
nostalgic
the
for
like
me."
cinema style in it.
Yeah.
Which I also appreciate. But Charlotte's very persistent, trying to get the girls to go to the summer share with her,
Mm-hmm.
mentioning the city is dead in August because everybody goes to the Hamptons. And she also does a little bit of foreshadowing, and she says that this could be the last summer we're able to do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And she gestures to one of the ladies saying one of us could be married, and she gestures to another one and one of us could have kids.
Yeah.
And we see how that ends up working out. But she really emphasizes that she thinks that they'll regret it if they don't go. And with
Well,
all the
no
like
shit.
sweet hopefulness that Charlotte has, they all agree. And yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Because how would you not want to do that too? They never leave the city. They never go do anything together. You see, this is
Exactly.
very rare. Like throughout the series, you rarely see a travel episode.
I feel
So
that. It's like
yeah.
when we went to New Orleans.
Oh, it's
You
so
know?
fun. It's my favorite place ever. I cannot wait to go back. I feel at home there, you know?
Hell
And it
yeah.
was such a blast. That was one of the best trips of my ever loving life. So
It was a good trip.
that was a really good trip.
Soon.
Mm-hmm.
Next scene, we have Samantha at her office, and we meet her mentee, Nina. So, Samantha's assistant, Nina, she's on the phone with one of Samantha's clients, and she's being really loud and really inappropriate. And honestly, it's fucking hilarious. She tells the guy on the phone that for the event that they're throwing for him, that she's going to send a car for him to come and get him and take him to the event. And she tells him, if you hate it, I'm going to let you blow me. Like she's just like really fucking funny and just being really obnoxious. And like the scene literally opens up with her being like, oh my God, on the phone. And she's just a hoot. And Samantha tries to tell her that she needs her to get in contact with somebody for her, and Nina like kind of ignores her and waves her off a little bit and continues to just talk on the phone. So Samantha throws her finger down and puts that person on hold and is like, I'm serious, off now. And you can kind of tell like a shift happens, and Nina politely hangs up on the phone and tells Samantha, I have personal relationships of my own, And
Yeah, but you're at work.
Yeah, and Samantha's like, not with my clients, you don't.
Yeah, and you're at work. Like,
Yeah,
there's a time and
exactly.
place. You know what's
And
funny? It's very reminiscent of like nowadays when it's like Gen Z talking versus like millennials. It's like that, because the things I hear come out of Gen Z's mouth that's of ease is things I would usually never say in public, but they'll just be like, "That's cunt." I'm like, whoa, I agree, but I'm like, dude, we're at a bank. Like,
and honestly, like if we think about it, what generation would Nina be considered a part of? Is
so
she a millennial, like an early
that's what I
millennial?
was thinking, because so if she's 20
Because
this is 2000 already, right?
yeah,
So she's 20,
about
let's say she's like 25 in 2000. So what's my dad? It's my dad. It would be like my dad's
like
generation.
more like Gen X a little bit.
Yeah, like probably the cusp around
Yeah,
ish there. Hold up. We have technology. What the fuck are we doing? Let me
cool.
see.
Well, while she looks
What's
that
it
up,
called?
I'll explain the rest of this scene. Basically, uh, Nina's like getting kind of worked up because of what's going on with Samantha, and she tells Samantha, I have my own career to worry about, but Samantha hits her back with your career is being my assistant. She's very
Yeah.
much like, you need to kind of like figure out your place here. And Samantha tells her, you don't seem to grasp the difference between us. And Nina tells her, yes, I do. And this is honestly one of my favorite digs of the entire show. She says, you stood in line outside Studio 55. I stood outside to see Studio 55, the movie.
54. Studio
54?
54.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
You're good. It's Studio 54. But yeah, the movie.
Wow. I wrote 55. Whoops. Okay.
Yeah, because Studio 54 is a real place. It was a real thing.
Yeah,
It was
I
that
know.
real
I
club.
just
Yeah.
I was reading off the thing. My bad. That's embarrassing.
Who cares? It's a typo.
Yeah. So Studio 54, my bad, y'all. Yeah, so she quits on the spot.
Yeah. And she's like, later, bitch. I found the chart. So Gen X is if you were born between the year 1965 and 1980. Millennials are if you were born between 1981 and 1996. Gen Z is 1997 through 2012. And now we have Gen Alpha, which is early 2000s to now mid 2020s. And of course, before that, we have boomers and then the silent generation. So
Okay.
I
So
guess
she's
that
a
would put
millennial.
her, yeah, probably a
Early
millennial or
millennial.
like, if not like late Gen X. So like I
Yeah.
said, probably like a cusp. So
Yeah.
yeah, around there,
Wild.
Right.
I still can't get over missing up Studio 54.
It's
past
not even
that.
a big deal.
I know. Anyways.
It's
Okay.
literally, it was a literal typo. The 4 is next to the 5.
No, literally.
It's fine.
Anyways, so Charlotte was able to convince everybody to go on this trip to the Hamptons, and they all meet up at the Jitney to get ready to go. So the Jitney is a famous bus that people from New York City take to the Hamptons because, for people in Texas, generally people will have a vehicle of their own, but in a place like New York City where they have
They don't have
actual
cars.
infrastructure of transportation and all that, you rely on buses a little bit more. So
Yeah.
So
Or
Samantha
ferries.
or ferries,
Yeah, like there's a Staten Island ferry to get to Long Island, Staten Island, all that jazz. So
exactly. Wow. We have Samantha talking to Carrie and Miranda about what happened with Nina on the way to the Jitney. And the conversation here is really interesting. So Samantha's telling them what happened and talks about how 20-something-year-old girls are grateful, spoiled, ungrateful, spoiled, and just they think they're it and that's it, And Carrie, in a joking tone, says, yeah, don't they realize we're still it? And Miranda, in like a much more serious tone, comes in is like, no, because the world validates their delusion. And Samantha also mentions that Nina stole a copy of her Rolodex. So all of the contacts that she's made in her industry as a publicist, Nina stole a copy of that and their information.
Everything was ridiculous until Samantha was like, yeah, no, she stole something from me. That's the most fucked up part. However, like, to me, and this is, I need to make a disclaimer for this. We obviously talked. This episode is like 20s versus 30s. We are in a perfect time to film this episode because we are right there. So I'm turning 29 this year. You're turning 30. We're right fucking there. So we're already pretty much in this, like, we have already lived throughout our 20s and now emerging into our 30s. So I'm like, okay, here we are. So it's not like, I just don't want any like thinking there's like a weird bias here. So however, we are approaching our 30s, but I feel like I'm more 30. I'm closer to 30 than I'm closer to 20, obviously. But no, it sounds like bitter bitches because it's like, okay, yes, your 20s are your 20s and they're exciting and they're fresh and you're going to be hot and amazing because you're in your 20s and you're young. However, you're dumb as fuck, so you make a lot of bad decisions. But yes, in your there's a beautiful, profound change in your 30s that happens as a woman where you're like, wow, I know who I am. And I have all this lovely life experience to get me into this point now where I feel more solidified as a person. And it's like, that's great. But to like, see, obviously this is the entire theme of the episode, But to be so like nasty against 20-year-old women, I can't stand.
No, for real.
I can't stand it.
And Carrie kind of calls them out on it here. She says,
Mhm.
you know, calm down and remember the only thing worse than being single in your 30s in this city is being single in your 20s.
Yeah, because that's when men will always be men. And they're and I've heard from multiple sources that they usually don't get a lot better as they age.
Yeah.
So they kind of just stay stagnant at like, I don't know, 17. But yeah, you know.
Yeah. And then in comes Charlotte, and she's got a new guy with her, and his name is Greg, and we
I
find
love
out
that name.
he's 26.
Oh my God.
And I think this is interesting because, you know, what was that, season 1, I think? We see Carrie have this whole episode kind of dedicated to when she stopped dating men in their 20s, and now we see Charlotte dating a man in her 20s, you know, learning the lesson that Carrie learned a few episodes ago.
What's so funny is like 26 is even young for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
No, yeah.
I mean, obviously, and it's funny too because I don't know if they were saying what we've talked about this before, like Gen Z looks older. Like they have that like older thing. And I'm starting to see people like come in and I'm like, that's a grown man. And they're 23. I'm like, this is that's scary. And I was like, now I know how men feel when they're older and they're like, oh, we gotta check some ID here before I proceed. Oh, because you look so much like they look so old sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, that looks like a grown ass 30-year-old man and he's 23 years old. You're like, holy hell, when did that happen? Why are you guys aging like milk?
You know, I bet there is science to that. I wonder
There's a
if it has
science. I think
anything
there's a
to do
science
with
to
the
that.
like incredible amount of preservatives that
I
we
was just
had in
about
the
to say
food
it's
when
like
we were
all of
growing
our
up.
shitty chemicals and stuff. We were on the cusp of eating Tyson chicken nuggets. That's why everyone has ovarian cysts now.
Yeah.
I blame it on Tyson. I'm
No,
suing.
for real. Don't eat Tyson, please. I used to live in
Just
a small
the dino
town.
nuggets.
I used to live in a small town and I would see the chickens come in and out on the truck. I can't do it anymore. The
fat ones? The plumped ones?
Poor
chickens.
No, they looked sick and the truck was in terrible condition all the time.
Every time I think of like chicken farms, I think of Napoleon Dynamite when he used to work.
I made a reference to that movie the other day.
What did you say?
Eat the food.
Tina, eat the food.
No one got it. No one got it.
No one got that reference?
No, but it's okay.
Blasphemy.
It's okay because you get the reference.
I do get the reference. Like every time we quote white chicks. We talk about white chicks a lot in this podcast. Yeah. We reference white chicks all the time.
Well, for me, white chicks is the same cultural like stamp in my life as like SpongeBob.
Yeah. The deception.
Anyways, so we have the 4 broads in the Hamptons, and yeah, they're checking out the place that they're staying at, and Samantha's like, I thought they called it shabby chic, but it seems more like shitty chic.
Shitty chic. Shitty chic is like my like
it makes
what's
me
it
think
called?
Of Kesha.
Yeah. It's like that's like my nomenclature for like my style. I feel like shitty
with a bottle of Jack vibes.
That used to be me about 3 years ago. I love that shit. When you're polishing off what you didn't finish the night before, you're like, I'm gonna finish that.
I like feel a hangover coming on, you just saying that.
Which is why you need the hair of the dog.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so while they're hanging out at the little rented house, Greg comes to visit, and as Charlotte's going to answer the door for Greg, we find out that Greg thinks that she's 27. So that's how she was able to get this 26-year-old, because she's saying that Charlotte's 27.
What, they were probably around 34, right? I think that's where they're around 33, 34.
Exactly. So. But I feel like it's kind of worth mentioning that I don't see this a lot in culture nowadays, but I remember as a kid in like media and movies and in my life, seeing women lie about their age. It was very,
A
very
lot.
common. Yeah. And I
A
kind of
lot.
just kind of get that vibe from this. It's I
Yeah.
feel like it was more normalized back
It was
then.
definitely more normalized back then. But like
Yeah.
I never lie. I'm like, why? But the other day I did have a conversation where someone was like, "Oh my god, how old are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm turning 29 this year." And then they said, "Oh my god, you don't look old." I was like,
Mhm. Mhm.
shots fired. I was like, what?
Mhm.
We are not even there yet. I'm like, girl, this
No,
is
for
my moment.
real.
I feel great. What do you mean? What do you mean? I
It's
feel
all
better at
relative.
29 than I did at 21 for sure.
I feel
For
that.
sure.
I feel that. Oh my gosh. Well, that night at the party, Greg and his friends. So we see a lot of really young 20-something-year-olds, and dude, they immediately start complaining. Samantha and Miranda are so like just like they're upset about everything this episode.
Hmm.
And Samantha makes a comment saying how the men are so young, they don't even have chest hair yet. So I'm kind of thinking that some of these kids are
Chest
underage
hairs
drinking.
overrated. No, I just think it not a lot of people do.
Oh, no, I mean, that's what I figured that she was saying with like these guys are so young, they don't even have chest hair yet. I just
I
figured
think
that
there's
like
just
maybe Greg had like
Samantha.
younger 20 friends. So like, Charlotte's like 27, she's a little bit older than him, but him and his friends are a bit younger.
I've also just
Um,
generally not seen a lot of hairy chested men in my day. I feel like that was such a 70s thing.
I mean, it just depends on genetics. And it typically gets more intense like the older they get. From what I understand,
Really?
it's usually, yeah, like it'll kind of hit, like they'll have the hair there, but it won't like fill out until like their 30s and stuff. That's just kind of
Hmm.
what I've seen.
Interesting.
Which is why I thought that she was saying that they were that
They
young,
were underage.
like 20, 19, 20. And personally, like I used to go to quite a few parties around this age, and this party reminded me of those parties. Because I remember this one, don't ask. I remember this one string of parties where they actually had a communal puke pile. It was like a
That
thing.
is fucking
And
disgusting. And as much as I
oh,
partied, I've never seen anything like that.
yeah. I didn't party with them for very long. But basically, yeah, no, and that's kind of the vibe that I got from this because it's very, stereotypical of American parties where the kids are underage and they're like overdoing it. Like, like that kind of
This
vibe.
is why,
And that's the vibe that the bonfire
yeah.
that Greg invited them is giving. They have girls like puking into the sand and like laughing at the same time while another one holds her hair back. This
That's
other girl can't
embarrassing.
even walk straight, so she bumps into Miranda, making her spill her drink all over the place. Like that looks like underage drinking to me.
That's, yeah. I mean, or it's drinking for the first time.
Yeah, like that
It's not,
very like
yeah.
maybe
It's
not
not so
necessarily
much.
underage, but like maybe for me it's giving like 18 to 23.
Yeah.
Because I feel like 25 to like 30 you start kind of like you're still a little bit
Well, you
out
start
there, but
knowing
like you
your
start like kind
limits.
of being having a little bit more decorum with it.
Well, no
Um,
shit, but you also slow down the older you get. You're
yes,
like, I literally cannot drink. Like at 25, I couldn't drink the same way I did at 21.
exactly.
I used to
But
just drink straight liquor like
I
at
feel
21,
that
no problem.
I
Now
feel
I'd
that
be in a hospital bed.
yeah,
Like,
like
you
one of
know,
the first times I went out drinking, I had 17 Jello shots. 17.
17.
17, and I was fine. Like as far as like not puking everywhere. Like I didn't end up like that or anything. But I learned. I learned the next
Yeah, I
day
think as
like
as
you
we all
shouldn't do
do.
that.
As we all
Um
do.
yeah, and so it's about that portion control. But that's why this party that they ended up going
Yeah.
to was it That's what it sounded like to me.
It is
And
true. I love though, because I do now. I don't drink the way I used to. Obviously, it's like you go out, you have some drinks, even if you do like. I was just having a conversation too. I'm like, oh God, we don't even drink the same way we used to unless it's like planned. Like, oh hey, someone's has a birthday party. We're getting fucked
turn
up. Like
up.
it's like planned now. And you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I got Tums, I got Tylenol.
See, you
You're
know what
like,
I
I
want to
already
try
know
is that
what.
oh, I forgot what they're called, but it's like a Gen Z trend that I saw that I want to try.
Porgs.
Yes, that looks like okay, because what I understand about them, tell me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
but it's a jug of water that
Yes.
you fill with like Gatorade powder and stuff, and like you
Yes.
put the liquor in it and stuff, and you hold it. It's with you, but it's not just like about getting fucked up. It's about like all the hydration and vitamins that you need with getting fucked up.
Yes and no, because they
No,
fill the fuck out of those. It's a gallon. It's a gallon. They're filling the fuck out of those with liquor.
wait, the gallon is liquor? Like it's not like
It's not straight liquor.
okay,
Obviously, they mix it, but when you're
yeah.
thinking about the capacity of a gallon, as far as you're mixing, it's so much easier to count a mixed drink. You're like, I know exactly how much alcohol is in this. When you are 21 and you give someone a gallon and they just go, here's some strawberry lemonade Svedka, and you're pouring it halfway or even a quarter of the way, do you know how much liquor is in that? Like, do you know, like a normal amount of liquor is an ounce or an ounce and a
Wow.
half to 3 ounces is a strong cocktail. We're talking like probably 15 ounces minimum pours in those things.
Wow,
And
it's
then
like
they're filling up the
personalized
rest
trash
with,
can punch.
it is, but and it's safer. And like, I've seen it, but however, it looks so trashy. And I'm like, but I love that Gen Z just like, it just nails it for them. I'm like, you know what? Sure. Cause we were drinking from a fucking pool, a fucking inflatable pool and or cooler that hadn't been cleaned out since 1992 from your parents.
Yep.
You know,
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
we should have all been immune from like
Or
the coronavirus, and we
a
weren't.
plastic storage tub that happened.
Yeah, I don't even know
Not for
the
me,
amount of
but my
things.
friend had it, and she ended up throwing her shoe against the wall because she didn't want to stand up. Like it was that kind of night, and I had to make her stand up because she was blocking the restroom.
I
Like
miss
one of
drinking.
those
Like
nights.
sometimes I miss having those nights, but like not like the bad, obviously like not like the bad things, but the ones where you're just like, where you're
I'm
like, I
gonna be
love you
young
guys,
forever.
I love you. No, not that. But it was just like, this
No.
is so great. Like, I never always thought that. I've always understood that we're like, have an expiration date. I've always just like savoring moments, you know? And so, like, I always remember one specifically where you were throwing a party and like my favorite song started playing and I was already fucked up and you were already fucked up. And I was like, I love you so much. I was like, this is the best moment ever.
It was.
Like that kind, you know?
Oh yeah, that was a good party.
Yeah.
Uh
That
anyways,
was a great party. It was a great party.
that was an era.
It was. On to the
Alright.
next one.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay. So Carrie is literally walking over through this party to tell Charlotte that they're leaving. They don't want to stay any longer. And
Mm-hmm.
we meet Laurel Harris. So I mentioned that we meet some
Laurel.
20-something-year-olds. We met our first one, Nina, and we are now meeting Laurel, our second one. And she's a young writer who is completely starstruck by Carrie, and she even offers to do Carrie's laundry and any personal tasks that she needs help with as like a personal assistant, just to get to know her a little better. So Carrie's like, you don't have to do that. I'll just be your mentor like a normal fucking human being. And
Yeah.
so she gets her number and she's going to start mentoring Laurel. So we have the next morning where we see Miranda wake up early and she just has her little cup of coffee and she tries to go outside to go enjoy the ocean breeze and just like a little moment by herself. And she takes one step outside and steps in puke. I would be so upset if that happened to me.
Yeah.
And she's
That's
upset and she turns around and yells, "Somebody puked on the deck."
That is equivalent to how I felt when I went to Florida and no one was awake yet. I made myself a cup of coffee. I was like, I'm going to go sit and read a book outside. And then I opened the door. This was 8:30 in the morning. I opened the door and the sweltering heat of Florida hit me at 8:30 in the goddamn morning.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't want to be outside ever. I want to go back home.
Yep.
I thought I was going to enjoy my time.
Oh, it's that kind of humidity where as soon as you walk out of the shower, you're starting to sweat.
But it's so weird because I feel like New Orleans is more humid, but like I don't get that like gross hot feeling with, I guess it's the equator thing. Anyway, that's the same level of disappointment that I feel like I would have felt.
So yeah, no, Charlotte pops up her head from behind the couch and she just like pokes up her head and is like, oh, Stacy and whatever had too many Jello shots. And Miranda's is like, are you 25 again? And she's like, no, 27.
27.
And then out pops Greg's head from underneath her. So Miranda almost outed her on her lie. And the next morning in Carrie's apartment in the city, Carrie begins to wonder what is the allure of the 20s while looking through a photo album of herself in her 20s.
Yeah.
And as she's thinking about it, she kind of starts mentioning, you know, on one hand, there's great skin tone, the thrill of fresh experiences, and a sense of a consequence-free life full of seemingly endless possibilities. And on the other hand, there are horrible apartments, sexually inexperienced men, and embarrassing errors in fashion. And I kind of like want to side-eye Carrie. I'm like, that's not just in your 20s, my lady.
No, I'm like, you're making terrible decisions now.
Actually, not yet. I think it's season 3 where she starts dressing herself, and that's when we start getting those like, what the fuck is she wearing?
Questionable outfits.
Yeah,
like what the fuck are you wearing?
And so she continues to wonder, you know, should we fear these freshly minted single women as a threat to our very survival? Or pity them as clueless half-wits about to get their dreams dashed and illusions shattered? 20-something girls, friend or foe?
It's such an interesting take. I feel like we talked about this a little bit before we filmed, and it's just so bizarre. You and I think are on the exact same page when it comes to the like women who are younger than us kind of thing. I think it's because you and I had both have had experiences with older women just not being kind, and not being supportive, and it's like,
specifically in the workplace.
Right, specifically in the workplace. And I know that's a common thing. More women are talking about it. It's like on TikTok now.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, why am I in a fight with Brenda 45 from accounting? You know, and it's like,
why? And not to throw our personal lives out there, but I've lost a job because of that before. I've actually lost 2 jobs because of that before.
Too. I've lost two.
Yeah, one of them I ended up getting back because I was able to prove that I was wrongfully terminated. But the other one, I was genuinely just like thrown out into the wind because this lady just could not stand me. Saying things like, I'm wearing shorts to tempt the men of the office. Like when it's like fucking summer and 105 degrees and the AC barely works in the place, you know, like shit like that. And it's so frustrating because I'm just like, out here.
And it's crazy because it all, obviously that behavior all stems from insecurity, and we know that now. When I was younger though, I was a little more genuinely like shocked, because I even remember having a conversation one time, like when I post getting fired by a woman, and I was like, well, what's the, like, I was genuinely like, what was the fucking problem? I guess I was that naive at the time. And one of my other female coworkers, who was older than me too, she was just like, one, she was intimidated, and two, she's like, she was jealous. She was like, and she thought like you had a shot at her husband. And I'm like, what?
And it's always the nastiest looking fucking men that you're scared that you're gonna steal.
Where on earth are you getting this impression that I want to be anywhere near your family and your husband? Like it's it's so crazy. And I don't know if that's trauma speaking. I don't know if it's insecurity along with trauma, but you're just like, this is work too. And rarely does like work and personal life like blend. Like I rarely have had partners like come to my place of work unless it's like a real quick, like, oh, they're dropping something off for me and like, oh yeah, hi, meet so and so. And like that's it. You know, like there's not a whole lot of mingling. So I don't understand. I don't know. Anyway, I've had plenty of experiences now in the 10 years of, or, you know, the 10ish years of me being in my 20s of dealing with women specifically in the workplace and it just being the biggest problem there rather than work. And it's just kind of unfortunate how that has to pan out that way when it's like, this is a job that we should just be worrying about what the fuck we're doing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it just, I don't know. It just sucks to think that these women are just asking themselves, like, are we friend or foe when we're literally just out here, like,
Right.
trying to figure our shit
Right.
out, you know?
Which is where I was coming back to that first thing I was pretty much bringing up is it's because of our experiences where you and I now, especially with women who are younger, are a lot more like it's kind of the whole concept of the I don't know if anyone's familiar with the phrase except for nurses say like nurses eat their young, and that's a very common stereotype in nursing is that we come in as new nurses and the older nurses are very not nice
Oh,
with like
yeah.
as with preceptorship and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I have never felt an ounce of wanting to make my younger coworkers feel insignificant or insecure or feel like they were not supported. I've only ever wanted them to feel strong and as a woman and like independent and comfortable in their position. And it's like, and then I've been in management now a couple of times in my career. And I just feel like naturally as a leader, you should want to make your entire team feel supportive regardless of who they are. Like I don't care if I'm managing someone who's 70 or if I'm managing someone who's 18. It
Mhm.
goes the same way for both roles. And I specifically now make it very apparent with whoever I'm working with who's younger, especially women, to make them feel like okay and good and like I want them to come to work and I want them to come to me if I can help them or, you know, it's like I would never want them to feel scared or like, you know, anywhere near the way I would feel about just having a conversation with another coworker.
Mhm.
And it's just really sad. I feel like that's getting better because the generations are rolling out more, because I just feel like you and I are what, like we're like zillennials, we're like on that cusp. I work with a lot of Gen Z women now, and it's very fun. I have a blast with
Same.
my Gen Z
They keep me young.
counterparts. They keep me young. Exactly. I'm like, I love it because I'm there too. I watch TikTok probably more than them. But it's like I can't imagine them feeling insignificant or anything like that.
Yeah,
And I even
'cause
remember one time like having an 18-year-old coworker who I was managing, and she was like, she's already had been working for like 2 years, and she
Mhm.
told me like, she goes, she goes, I've never had a boss like you. She's like, I've always had female bosses and they were so mean and so nasty and so vindictive. And she's like, I come into work, she goes, and I want to tell you like everything that's happened in my life. And she's like, and I was just like, good. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
obviously we need some work-life balance. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't need to know everything, but if you need to come to me for questions, absolutely.
Oh, I
You know,
totally
but
get that. I
yeah.
recently was told by one of the people that I supervise. The people that I supervise generally are like younger to later 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I got told that I give work mom vibes. And like I
Oh,
take care of them and I make sure that they are okay. And my supervision style is like very much like making sure that they're okay before everything
right.
and like
Because
checking in
that's
with
your
them.
job as a
Yeah,
leader.
and I take that aspect of it very seriously because
Very
I've
seriously.
also experienced it where I felt like I was bothering them by communicating with them.
By
you know?
existing.
By
By
existing.
existing.
By literally just like breathing. I'm like somehow pissing them off. And I
Yes.
really strive for the people who are under my supervision, people that I manage, don't have to feel like that.
Never feel like that. It's such an ugly feeling.
It is,
no one wants to come into work
you
and
know,
feel like that.
we're breaking generational cycles and shit. It
Yes.
ain't for the weak, and we just
I
like
agree.
would love
And you know what's
to.
funny too is like being in this spot and my age now too, and then having the women who are older who are supportive are the greatest too. Because like I have a lot of charge nurses who are in their 40s or 50s, and they're just like, "Oh my god, my work daughter's here," and I'm like, I still feel young.
The work babies.
I was like, oh
Speaking
god.
of work babies, guess what we have in this next scene? We have Laurel following around Carrie at a book party. And
This is really cute.
It is really cute. And honestly, Laurel reminds me of the people that I like supervise. She's very like happy to be there, wants to be involved, wants to help, but and not in my case, but in Laurel's case, she's kind of like overdoing it a little bit. She's just everything like, like, I know your favorite drink. I remember from your column.
She's just
very,
eager.
Like, eager.
It's that like
it's her eager face, you know? And it's really funny. And Carrie's just kind of like trying to like gently push herself off a bit, but Laurel's not getting the hint. And while they're walking around the party, Laurel starts to tell Carrie about the book that she wants to write. And it's a personal memoir about how Laurel and girls her age are saving themselves for marriage. So it's kind of like this whole reversal of, I guess, the sexual revolution that was happening at that time, where the women from Sex and the City were kind of like portraying more where women were out and ready to have sex, be free, all of that. Laurel was kind of preaching the opposite of women going back to the values. And Carrie kind of stops her in her tracks and is like, "Are you seriously telling me you've never had sex with a man?" And Laurel's like, "That is correct."
Yeah, and Laura's 25.
25, yeah. 25. Yeah. And Carrie even tries to get her to define what sex is, trying to see if it was something like, how like Mormons have that like bed jumping thing?
Soaking,
yeah. Where it's not technically sex, but they're like basically like this, and then somebody jumps on the bed to like make it happen. So if you're not pushing, you're not doing it, right? I don't know.
sure.
But basically Carrie's like trying to figure out if Laurel is trying to use a loophole like that, where it's like it's not sex, but like
it's like, oh, I get fucked in the ass, but I'm still a virgin.
So I'm still a virgin, and
That's
Laurel's
insane.
Like actually offended by the question and is like, "I have not done anything, like no job."
She's like, "Are you pinning me to be some kind of Lewinsky?" Which I thought was derogatory. I was like, first of all,
it was still like fresh.
I know that. I was thinking about that, how fresh that was, and I'm just like, it's so, I don't know, it's just still such a funny controversy like to me, and the fact that like she's now like an icon still, like people want to interview her all the time.
I watched her TED Talk.
Did you?
Yeah,
I need to watch it.
She has a TED Talk, and it's really cool. I think the idea behind the TED Talk was online bullying.
I could imagine.
So she might have something to say about that.
And I'm like, it was the fact that everyone blamed her and not the president of the United States, who should have been not doing anything. But
because she wasn't married.
Let's blame the women.
But at the book party, Laurel goes to go get Carrie a Cosmo. And while Carrie's just kind of walking around by herself, we meet Dr. Bradley Migo. And a man, he walks up to Carrie and is holding one of the books, and Carrie asks him how he knows the author, or if he knows anything about the author. That's exactly what she said. "Do you know anything about the author?" And he says, "Yeah, his family has a history of diabetes and he has a steel splint in his left femur. Please explain." why that is not okay
Hey,
as a medical
guess what?
professional.
I am a medical professional. You're goddamn right. I always forget. Anyway, this is such fucking bullshit because this is a direct violation of HIPAA.
Mm-hmm.
Direct.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much it is? And I was just explaining this the other day because someone was like, they're like, we were talking about like people, who we've taken care of and stuff. And it's like, obviously this isn't violating HIPAA, but I've known of patients that are famous, like are in my facility, and I'm like, I can't say it because hello, it's HIPAA. You can't disclose any medical information, anything at all, who it is at all. One direct HIPAA violation can fine you and the facility $100,000 on top of like criminal charges.
And
Because
I'm pretty sure that was 2 right there.
right, so because you're talking about the family and the patient. So anyway, that's like, that's crazy. That the writers are wildin'. I was combining wildin' and writers. Holy God. So I was just thinking that I was taking a shower yesterday and I was like, that's a HIPAA violation. What the hell? But yeah, I don't, he's like trying to score points. And I'm sure doctors do that, right? They're like, oh, guess what? Like, I know this about toe and toe. And I'm like, you still fall under the guidelines. Yeah, you still fall under the guidelines of HIPAA. I know nurses, I don't know them personally, but I've seen stories on TikTok where HIPAA can actually get violated and not even disclosing patient information directly. This was like a major case a couple of years ago. No, not even that. A nurse took a picture on Snapchat, and I think somewhere in the background was like partial information. Like you couldn't even tell truly at all. And her license got taken away because of that. It, like stripped, gone.
I mean, I'm sure there's more to the story, but like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because you're like, almost everywhere nowadays when you work, as I'm a nurse, but it's any healthcare professional, usually in a facility. You now almost all the time you sign like a cell phone contract, and like you're not even supposed to have personal phones out in patient care. Yeah, like you're basically signing saying I won't have my personal phone anywhere near patient care areas.
That makes sense.
Right. And so, because a lot of times too, now companies have moved towards messaging apps that are like available via work computer, or like you get a work phone or you get a work communication device, so you're not having to utilize your personal cell phone to communicate. However, if you do use a personal cell phone, there's now encrypted data apps that you can put. So when you're sending, because a lot of times obviously doctors want to be texted, and because they don't want to be bothered, you send them a text. That has to all be encrypted because anywhere can go and breach your data, steal patient information, and so forth. So yeah, just a little FYI now, as far as HIPAA, but at least I know I do my best to keep patient information incredibly safe, not only for my license, but just for the patient. Yeah, for the patient in general. But yeah, some people don't. Some people are like, oh, who I took care of, so-and-so. And that's the funny thing too. It doesn't even go for famous people. It goes for literally every patient. That's your right as a patient being treated in any facility. Like if someone is like, oh, my Thea like is at work, you can't even access, like even if my own grandparent or parent was in the facility that I worked at and I was like their emergency contact, you still cannot access their patient file.
Oh, I know.
Big no.
I don't know if you knew this. I'm sure I've mentioned it, but whenever I fill out patient information, I always list you as one of the people who's able to access my patient files. I put my husband and I put you.
Yeah. You've always been my beneficiary for everything too. So it's always you. I'm just like, well, whatever happens, it goes to Tina.
I feel that same. My bank account goes to you. You're gonna have to figure that one out with Lex if something happens to me.
I think right now it's my grandpa, just because I don't remember. Oh yeah, because you always need social security numbers, and sometimes when I'm filing for benefits, I'm like, I'm like, sometimes you're not gonna respond right away, So I'm like, well, it's going to grandpa this year.
Dang it. Oh my gosh. Where are we? Oh yeah, okay, so
Oh yeah. Fucking back to Dr. Bradley
Mr.
Migo.
HIPAA violation, Dr. HIPAA violation is like laying on it heavy with Carrie.
No
He's
shit.
flirting so hard with her. It's so obvious. And he even was like, this has already exceeded every expectation of mine. And she's like, yeah, like they have shrimp, right? And he's like, no, I'm talking about you. And she's like,
That's
oh.
very balls. It's very direct. When I was listening to it earlier, I was just like, I, however, would really appreciate being spoken to that way. But it's so funny when you're like, oh, I love this, but then it's never from the person you actually want.
And I actually, if you're really paying attention to how she's responding, she's like, you can tell she's flattered, but she's not feeling the same way. Because when he
No,
says
not at
that
all.
to her, she just goes, oh. Like, she doesn't even say thank you or anything or truly acknowledges. She just, like, reacts.
It's like when I
And
get hit on and I don't want to be around them, I'm just like, I'm going to go see my friend.
yeah. Yeah.
Needs
Oh
to
my
walk
God.
away.
No, seriously. This reminds me of this one time. This guy.
You talking about in high school?
No.
No, I was thinking about that one story you told me.
Wait, what story?
Where that girl was getting hit on, and then what did she say?
Oh, she's like, I have to fart really loud. And then just like walked away, and everybody was just like,
Craziest way to get out of being hit on. I'm sorry. That is so funny.
it was the best.
That is
One
so
time,
funny.
outside of a bar, I was with some friends, and we had cigarettes with us, and this man came over and
Oh, you told
went
me
to
this.
bum one, and that's like fine or whatever. But then he like didn't want to leave and began
Yeah.
hitting on my friend who was underage at the time, and because it was a bar, but like she was 17. It was like, anyways, I
Okay.
started aggressively talking about period poops.
Did he
And
go away?
he did. He didn't even stay for me to finish the sentence. It was great.
Some men don't like that's not a turnoff. Like they get so like predatory. They're just like, I'm gonna keep going.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta start doing crazier shit. But that's usually my
I
go-to
have to
is
get
like, let me talk
crazier.
about something gross and maybe they'll leave.
So you know what's so funny is I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm good. Oh, it is not. It's
I've
like
had men
it's in
fuck up over that before, though.
square up, bitch. If you're gonna throw hands at me in a bar because I said no to you, let's fucking go.
It happens, dude.
Good, let's go. Good. That's why I wear rings. Fuck off. See, now I'm all hyped. I'm like, let me get in a fight.
Dude, it's the hat, isn't it?
It's the hat. See, in this also, FYI, this is not a gimmick. We're from Texas.
Yeah, actually, this is already in my closet, so.
At this at Party City yesterday.
In Texas.
I'm born and raised.
So yeah, no, he's laying it on really heavy and is just like putting it out there, which honestly, he's shooting his shot. That's what he should do, right? Like he's not being like, hey bitch, or anything like that. So it's
that would make me be like, what?
I feel that one time I told my husband I felt like that song that I love you, bitch. I ain't never gonna leave you, bitch. I was like, sing that to me.
I feel that.
But no, he's just laying it on heavy, and he mentions like, I'd ask you to hang out after this, but I'm going to my house in the Hamptons. And so in that we find out that this guy is not only a doctor, he's well off enough to have his own home in the Hamptons.
Oh no shit.
This same home that the women had to split 4 ways, and Nina had to split 18, or I guess 19 ways. And that's crazy. This dude's, he got money. So, I don't know. But yeah, he asks if he can call her while they're in the Hamptons and is like
Mm-hmm.
doing literally anything he can to get her number, and she even acknowledges like, "Ooh, you're being persistent." And so she opens up the book that he was holding and writes her number in there, and you know, yeah. And oh, another little side note, Laurel does come back while they're speaking. And what was really, cool about this was that he does not hit on Laurel at all. If anything, she's just kind of like a side character.
Why would he though? Like,
Exactly.
if
He like barely even looks at her, and I think that like it's like I feel like Carrie kind of makes a face at one point. She's like, like she enjoys that he is giving solely like her the attention,
that's
which
just preference.
yeah, exactly. He's dating women his own age. But blah blah blah. Yeah, so he got her Carrie's number, he leaves, and Laurel's
I
like,
just had a thought.
"Oh, what's up?"
I just had a thought. You're like women his own age. However, that's like that's a subjective to how someone looks their age. Because I
Yeah.
just realized everyone, a lot of people say I look younger than the way I look, and I was like, maybe that's why I get hit on by younger guys. I never thought about that. But however, younger guys like older women.
Mhm.
I had a guy once tell me, it was like when we started the podcast, he was like, "Oh, that Samantha character, that's like you, like a cougar." I was like,
Can you be a cougar in your 20s?
"No, you cannot be a cougar in your 20s."
I'm like, if you're a cougar in your 20s, you're a pedophile, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "How about you take your little 23-year-old ass and shut up?
No, for real.
We never went on a date." And that's why.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, Laurel kind of sees Carrie at this party and she tells her, "Wow, lady, you really got it going on." Laurel's very impressed with Carrie in this moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it's cool. I mean, I think it has something to do with like I said earlier, the older you get, naturally, the more you come into yourself, the more who you like are comes out. You present yourself a little bit
More
better.
confident, yeah.
Yeah, it's confidence, it's security, it's like, this is who I am. Like,
I am who I am.
I am who I am, and you have that. And, that's a lot of things. I mean, regardless, I'm still very insecure for a lot of numerous reasons. Everyone has insecurities, but, more so like the who I am, where am I going, who am, that stuff gets better. And the less you start to care about people's opinions too, that's a fun one. I've always heard from like, especially a lot older people, like, people in their 70s, 80s, they're like, oh, you start to like not give a damn about anyone else. Like the older you get, you're like, I could literally care less. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
love that.
Honestly, it's a great spot to be in.
It
It
is.
is not as limiting as things were before.
Yeah, it's like, who cares?
No, literally. Man. Well, at the beach the next day with the four broads. Because in this episode we kind of see that during like Monday through Friday the women are in the city, but on the weekends they're at the
So,
Hamptons.
because that's a weekend. So that's a
Yeah.
weekend getaway thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the normal thing. You don't always essentially stay out in the Hamptons for 4 weeks, unless I guess you can afford that or that's like your lifestyle. But a lot of times they're like, oh, I'm just going for the weekend.
Yeah.
It's like when we go to the coast,
Yeah.
or like we're going for the weekend kind of deal.
Yeah.
So,
The day trip or weekend trip.
yeah.
Well, we have all of the four broads at the beach the next day. So Charlotte is out and about fucking around with Greg, like playing in the sand and stuff. And then Miranda, Samantha, and Carrie are all sitting underneath an umbrella. And while applying even more sunscreen, they're just like commenting on how she literally put on oil instead of sunscreen. And they make a joke that like let her have fun because by Labor Day she's gonna look like a 27-year-old handbag. How about that? It's really funny. And
You're like,
then
it's one
really
time
one
out in the
weekend,
sun. She's
yeah.
gonna be fine.
No, really.
I mean, no, actually, you can get like fucking big. You can get damaged off of one time. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
what's crazy. I think I had a second-degree burn when I was like 14, And the doctor was like, hey, never get burned again. FYI. And I'm just like, oh, well, too late.
I'll try.
As I'm sunburned right now.
Good for you.
Look at that. Farmer's tan.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
In comes Dr. Migo, and he comes
again.
He finds.
Oh yeah, because she says we're gonna be under the big yellow umbrella.
Yeah.
So she was like, just come find me. She didn't say, she wasn't like, call me or anything. She's like, we're gonna be out, just find us.
Yeah.
Thinking like he probably wasn't gonna find her.
Yeah. Like, she's like kind of trying to blow him off, but he's being really persistent. So she's kind of going with it because he's not ugly. He's not being rude.
Yeah, it's just she says it perfectly though. She's just like, no, he's really, oh well, as what we say later, he comes up, flirts for a bit, and then goes back to swimming. And then they were like, Samantha and Miranda are like asking him, like, oh, hey, he's cute. Like, what's going on there? And then she says something like, well, he's a nice guy, but like, I'm just not sure. Like, he's cute. I'm just not sure I'm like into it, and which is very fair. I feel like that happens a lot.
I actually have been exactly where she's at, where
Same.
I was dating somebody and like visually good looking, had solid goals, had something they were passionate about and working towards, was in school, like all these green flags.
Right.
And even though I enjoyed them as a person, I still would catch myself checking my phone to see if it was time to leave yet, which was a really weird feeling.
That's a great way to like kind of tell if you're into something or not, though. What did they say? It's the traffic theory. Have you ever heard about that?
No.
So the traffic theory is like, you can tell if you genuinely like a person is if you're like, or the red light theory, I'm sorry, or something like that. If you get stopped at every red light in the car with someone, but you're like, oh, I'm fine with it because that's more time alone, like to spend time with them, to talk, to converse or whatever. If that doesn't bother you, then you're like, that's a good like justifier of like how you feel about a person.
Yeah, because I was dating this person right before I began dating my husband. And I remember it was like something I was like trying to make it
Sometimes
work.
I forget you're married.
I know, it's crazy, right? Like,
I hate you. We say this time and time again. I truthfully, back when her and I first met, we never thought she was getting married like in her 20s, even near close to that.
No, I figured if
we always
be one of those like 40-year-old brides.
Right. And then we always assumed I'd have kids and be married at like 23.
Yeah.
No.
The plan was for me to be a flight attendant and just travel.
That was your plan. I don't even know what my plan. I don't even remember.
Babies.
I've lived so babies. No, not even. I never even like wanted. I was always wishy-washy with children. I never really knew exactly like what I wanted or if I was capable. It wasn't until like a couple years ago where I was like, no, I think I do want children. I think I would be fine having children. But like my thing was, I always just wanted a family, and I say that all the time. I'm like, I want a family. I want someone to want me and love me and want to have like a family. It's not just like whatever. Like I grew up in, it's like, oh, we met in high school. Hey, let's have a kid. Like, no, like I want something real and something that will last. And like you realize as you age how special that truly is, and how not really like widely popular that is, or widely like that happens. So yeah, I think a life like that is truly a blessing. And I thought that back then, and I thought it was so unattainable back then, and I still kind of do sometimes now, but like it's a dream.
Everybody's entitled to that. And
yeah,
I mean, like if it means anything, it never ends up the way you think it is.
That's the fun thing about the whole like 20 something versus 30 something thing is that me at 20 couldn't even fathom or imagine where I've gone in the next 9 years. Truthfully, at 20, like, I've always loved comedy. I never thought comedy was going to be my goal until like I was probably like 23 when I was like, I think this is what I want to do. But like 20-year-old Bella would have been like, get lost. Like, there's no way you would have been. I mean, I did very performative stuff as a child. I did like acting, I did those things. I never like thought of that, but it's like I never would have thought stand up would have been my like thing,
Yeah.
you know? Like, if I can go back in time and talk to my 20-year-old self, she'd be like, ew. She'd be like, who the fuck are you?
Man. That'd be fun.
She'd be like, why'd you gain so much weight?
She'd probably be like, nice tits, dude.
No, you know what? That is actually so true because my boobs were smaller when I was younger. They popped
like I know.
they popped out at like 25, and I was like fairly thin still at like 25, all of a sudden, or 23, 25, and all of a sudden they were like more. But my aunt did call that shit. She told me, she was, I promise you, she's like, they're gonna get bigger. She goes, they're gonna get bigger. She goes, mine didn't stop growing till like 25, and that was around the time mine like stopped growing. So I was like, you're goddamn right. Thanks, genetics. Mm-hmm.
Man. Well, yeah, Carrie, she likes him, but he's good on paper. It's just not
Right. This is where we have the whole good on paper
and
conversation.
I feel like good on paper kind of also could equal out to like, these are his green flags versus like red flags.
Yeah.
You know, like she's not seeing any red flags. And I like the way she puts it too here, because she says like, a good on paper guy is someone with great credentials you always end up leaving for some hot guy who rides a motorcycle and does not have a checking account. You know,
up.
We've all been there. So
shots fired.
I didn't ask to be attacked today.
The funniest thing is, I think to this day, my ex still does not have a checking account.
That's impressive.
Right? And like, it's so funny how that's a thing. It's so funny how that's a thing.
These statements are very accurate, because I did leave my good on paper guy for a guy who was riding a motorcycle. Granted, he had a checking account, but like, that is true. I did do that. So they're very on point with that. So it's shots fired. Yeah. Bang, bang.
Yeah. Well, they also say good on paper, or like Samantha says, like the whole, well, you know what they say, good on paper, bad in bed. You know?
You think that's true?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's no, I think. There is, I know. The fun part about being almost 30 is the life experience thus far. And let me tell you.
That's amazing.
Unfortunately, I don't know why the way the world is. I
had to think about that. I was like, that's a tongue twister.
Yeah, it's genuinely men who aren't great for you tend to throw it down. There's no light way of putting that.
Is it, and do you think it's totally based on skill, or is it the added like ecstasy that comes with doing something that's not good for you?
No, I think that's all they have to offer, and so they're really good at it.
Yeah. Okay, I can hear that. That's hilarious. Oh my god. Okay, so next scene we have just Carrie and Dr. Migo. Oh, okay, this is like complete side note, right? But in this scene, Carrie, okay, we were growing up as the show came out. We were like maybe 2-ish, 3-ish when it aired.
Oh yeah, at 2000 though. Right now in this current point, in 2000, I was 4 years old.
Yeah. And as we know from The Devil Wears Prada, you know, trickle down fashion. I I remember as a kid seeing a lot of the styles and micro trends that are represented in Sex and the
Yeah.
City. One of the biggest ones in the entire show is the swimsuit getup that Carrie has in the scene. So she's wearing a bikini top with knee length trunks, like men's
Yeah.
swimming trunks. I
That's so
remember that.
2000s.
I remember
Do you
that coming
remember
out.
what was
I
that
have
one
a
brand?
very specific memory with my friend Alexis between 4th and 5th grade where we were trying to make eyes at the lifeguard. You know, we're like freaking 9 years old and he's like
Oh
probably
yeah.
18, 20. And we're just like, I'm
Oh,
coming in with my like bikini top and swimming trunks, like on fashion with my little pot
that
belly.
reminds me of Aquamarine so
Yeah,
much. Of the girls
exactly.
in Raymond. However,
Yes.
I always had skater bikinis. I was always that Ed Hardy, Hurley
Oh my
gal.
gosh, cute.
But like I always was like I was never well, I was always like kind of more curvy even as a kid.
Yeah,
Not like curvy, but like I wasn't like just
a
a
stick.
stick
Yeah, I
even
feel
as a
that.
kid.
I feel that, man. Oh my god. And okay, tell me if you think differently. But I feel
Mhm.
like Migo was kind of sharp in this scene and they laugh it off, but like if somebody spoke to me like that, I'd be like, "Oh, like a little bit gagged." So Dr. Migo mentions because in this scene, let me just paint it real excuse me.
Mhm.
Let me just paint it real quick. So Carrie is in her, swim top and trunks, and Migo is in his swimming trunks, and they're walking down the beach together. It's just them two.
Mhm.
And he mentions to her that he got reservations at an impossible to get into restaurant. And Carrie kind of like very dramatically is like, I can't go. I can't just abandon my friends,
Mhm.
which is fucking ironic coming out of her fucking mouth because that is literally how Miranda met Steve.
Yeah.
She does abandon her friends for men. She just won't abandon her friends for this man. But he laughs it off.
Well, that's a good justifier of how you feel about a man too.
Exactly.
Truthfully, yeah, no, I think that's a perfect way. If you ditch your friends to hang out with the guy, you know.
You know? But he tries to laugh it off and he says, I wasn't actually inviting you. It was just restaurant chit chat.
No, he was just bullshitting.
Okay, I'm like, if somebody told me that, I'd be like, huh? Like,
No, he was playing off of he was ping pong. It's playing like ping pong. He's saying like, okay, well, she said no, but I'm gonna throw it back at her.
yeah.
This is very basic flirting. This is very
See,
basic
I
power play flirting.
I don't
Very
do power
basic.
play flirting. So I guess
This
that's
is it.
why I'm like
This is
not
a
as versed
perfect
in this.
example of
Um
power play with a woman not interested. It's a very kind of like
mm,
casual thing. And I've heard now from men, like, it's just so funny too, like hearing perspectives of guys now where they're just like, fucking say no, and you're just like, well, yeah. But then, like you said earlier, sometimes when you do just say no, it's not always met with such great,
yeah.
actions afterwards. I've personally never had that. I've always just been like, no, thank you.
You
Bye.
know, and okay, I'm 5'3". A lot of men are taller than me. And
Mm.
I guess something about having to look up at them like that as I'm interacting with them causes like some kind of sense of like shift in power for
And
me.
that's funny because when I go out, what am I wearing?
Heels.
6-inch
Yeah.
platforms. And I'm typically about 6'2" in those. And so
Yeah.
typically the men I spoke to, even meeting my boyfriend now, I was taller than him when I met him.
You
So
know, and yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I guess there's some justification to that.
Yeah. When you said that, it reminded me of Steven Universe, that one song. All I want to do is see you
Yes.
turn into a giant
A giant woman.
woman.
It is fascinating too when you find men who don't care. And it took me a good while. When was I? I was probably 26 when I was like, you know what? Fuck height. When I once told you I'd rather slip my eyelids with razor blades than date someone shorter than me. And then I ended up being with someone who was like 5'3" for like 2 years.
5'3" crew represent.
Didn't bother me at all.
No, they know what they're doing. You know? But
Short Kings. And then Short Kings got wildly popularized like around that time and after too, where I was like, I was doing this before it was cool.
Trendsetter. But
I'll always remember my aunt's best friend at the time. I was probably like 6 or 7 and we were having a conversation. And I was when I didn't really know what she was saying yet too. And she said, I just remember them having like girl talk, you know, and then she said something like, well, I have to leave because we're going to go play Rooster and Hen. And I was like, what game is that? And then my aunt was saying something like, I don't know how you're with that guy, blah, blah, blah. Because he was a lot, like, her friend was like 6 foot, like tall, blonde, 6 foot, like beautiful, athletic. And then her boyfriend at the time, I think, was like 5'4", short Mexican guy. And then she said something very much along the lines of like, nothing matters when you're laying in bed, like at the same, she's like, laying down, nothing fucking matters. And then I was just like, huh. And it was always in the back of my head, you know, growing up. And then when I dated someone shorter I was like, nothing matters when you're like, I was like, it's that same justification. Well, actually, I dated someone shorter than me when I was 18, but I was kind of wildly despised at it. Like, also, I was kind of like disgusted with myself during the time.
So let's not count that one.
We're not counting that one. To this day, that's one of my shudders. That's one of my ugh.
Oh, we all have
sure.
those. We just like,
I talked about that one in detail last episode. If you guys want to go back to last episode and catch the fuck up, this guy specifically said, I love you. And then I was like, you need to leave. I don't feel well.
but he was like a good on paper guy, right?
He was a great on paper guy. He actually had money too. Actually came from money. And I just was like, no.
No, I feel you, because my good on paper guy.
Actually, go on. I have something to add though.
I feel like I sound like such a bitch saying this, but like my good on paper guy said that like I feel like we connected, and I was just like, okay, yeah, sure, and just like that was like all I said back.
And like, and we're never saying this as like a malicious thing, but
No,
it's never
just
bad to try and meet. And like when you're
yeah.
trying to get to know, you're like, well, maybe I do like this. Like you're in that mix of like, do I like this person? Do I genuinely really like this person? Because you can be like, you know what, like let me give it a shot kind of thing. However, what I was gonna say was when I was with this guy, I was going to college. We happened to go to the same college together. I didn't meet him in college. I met him at work. We happened to go to the same college. We somehow ran into each other as we were going to class. And I was like, oh, cool. And we were like out in the courtyard and there was a bunch of other people. Him and I like met and we talked and then we kissed. And the group of guys next to us went, what the fuck? And that was like, and then I started to question the relationship.
You know?
And I was like, maybe I should do better.
You know, sometimes you need the extra perspective, you know?
And I just kept walking to chemistry because we had none.
Whoops.
I tried. And then right after I dated that guy, we broke up. I dated a heroin addict for 10 years.
Love.
Bella lore.
But it's like, you know, when you have to try.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fun fact, we all worked together.
So they knew each other, huh?
They most definitely knew each other. This was so fun. On like looking back, reminiscing on this time of my life is so fun.
Oh my god.
Anyways,
next scene, we find out that Nina is having a party using Samantha's connections that we said that she stole.
Dude, that's fucked up.
No, it is, because as a public relations person, your contacts are a huge asset of of your business. It's like with marketing, all the
I was about to say, I
know?
directly work with marketers, and I've always tried to kind of get in marketing too, but almost every position will always be like, you need to come with your own clients.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, if you don't have clients already set up, we don't
Mm-hmm.
want you.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So Nina did steal her connections and got hired to do this really big event called the Hampton Hoedown, which is
why
we are
ding
on
ding
theme.
ding. This is why we're on theme. We're now talking about the Hamptons Hoedown. This is why we're wearing hats. We're not just from Texas.
Even though I'm kind of giving more like Crocodile Hunter over here, but Hampton Hoedown.
I don't see Crocodile Hunter.
No.
I mean,
I think it's the brown hat with the alligator.
You just look cute, I'm like, I feel like this is something you would just wear to like brunch.
It actually
is.
Yeah.
Ooh, I want to see you in this with your little orange pants that I stole.
You gotta give them back.
That'd be kind of cute.
I did steal them back.
Okay,
Yeah, I do.
You got them back.
Yeah.
You stole them back. I actually don't think I have anything of your. Oh, I have their orange pants.
My other orange pants.
Yeah.
My corduroy ones.
Your corduroy ones. I'm sorry, they're still just chilling there. I haven't worn them in a while.
You have my denim jacket.
That's my jacket. Okay, no, I'm sorry. We're settling this. I'm copywriting it. I don't give a fuck. That is my jacket. I'm actually going to embroider my name on it myself because that is mine. That is my jacket. And no one could ever tell me otherwise.
So for those of you who don't know, a few years ago,
this is an ongoing battle.
I embroidered the San Antonio skyline onto a jacket, and then it was stolen by someone who remained nameless.
It's a cropped denim jean jacket
from Old Navy.
It's a light wash from Old Navy. It's mine.
And it fit me perfectly.
It fits me perfectly too, because it's my jacket. It's the sisterhood of the traveling jacket, and it's mine.
It traveling if it never comes my way?
It traveled to my house and then made home.
It only goes one way.
It had a one-way ticket to my house. And it's always in the back seat of my car because I need it at any point in time.
It was the perfect jacket.
However, I've heard now that jean jackets date you. And like, I've always like worn an outfit and I'm like wearing the jacket and like, I'll be like, is this look cute? They're like, lose the jacket. I'm like, the jacket is who I am. Okay.
Denim jackets are getting dated. Is that part of the whole millennial cringe stuff?
Yes. Ugh. They were like,
we can't have
so
anything.
Funny. I have seen it lately too, where it's a slideshow of things.
Yeah.
Where it's an outfit directly out of 2016. And they're like, ew. I'm like, first of all, you were in elementary school. So fuck off. We were wearing what we needed to wear.
I don't know about you, but I don't remember spending so much time like
invested in
all over
of adults' lives.
Yeah, I'm just
no one gave a shit. When I was I'm like 19, I was worried. I was doing my own. I didn't give a fuck about what people in their 30s were doing. I literally could care less.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about it. Didn't even care. I was just living in the moment. You know what we were doing in 2016? Living in the moment. That's what we were fucking doing. We had Snapchat. It was a vibe. Drake wasn't a pedophile yet. Like, it was such a thing, we had a blast. My Borg was vodka poured in a Gatorade Zero.
I was in my craft beer era.
Oh, yeah. I was in my I'm drinking anything, how did I end up in this apartment era?
What a fun time. Anyways, speaking of fun times. The event's called the Hampton Hoedown, and upstairs, Carrie and Laurel are hanging out. So Laurel's literally painting Carrie's toes. Like,
it's kind of cute though.
They're just being girls, and Laurel's just talking about how, it's not that I don't want to have sex with men. I just feel like these previous generations of women have devalued sex to the point where it's not even special anymore.
It doesn't have to be.
I feel like sex is definitely something that gets blown up into something way bigger than it is.
It does. It does. I think the whole virginity thing is, overrated.
It is. And what I really appreciate was in this moment, Carrie does ask her, "What do you like about my writing then? Like, if this is
Yeah.
truly how you feel." And unfortunately, we never get the answer because she gets cut
She
off
gets cut
with
off.
Charlotte running in the room, and all she has on is a pair of underwear and a robe, and she's showing her stomach, and she says, "I have a tick on my stomach and I can't get it off." And Laurel's like, "That's not a tick." And the next thing we see is Miranda dumping a pot of crabs into some boiling water. As it turns out, Charlotte really is in her 20s. She got crabs.
Bro, I feel
Bro.
like crabs are like been eradicated in this
I
generation
was
because
gonna
I have
say,
never heard one person getting crabs in my
me
entire
either.
life.
I have never heard of it. I've never experienced it either. And I don't know. Maybe
Watch,
he
I
has
get Jinx to get
to,
crabs.
honestly, right? Side eyes boyfriend.
Side eyes.
um, um, what do you call it? But
What the fuck?
I was kind of talking to Bella about this the other day, and I was like, I wonder if the eradication of crabs has anything to do with the rise in popularity for pubic hair removal, you know? And I'm sure
Right.
it's not directly related or anything, but I wonder if it has anything to do with that.
No, because I told you, remember that you don't essentially, even if you unless you were lasered, because I think crabs hang on to pubes, but like, I guess if you were 100% lasered, maybe not. But even let's say like if you had a little bit of hair, that's what they can cling on to. But like I told you, like you don't essentially need like a lot for it to cling on to something. And remember when Charlotte came in, she's like, it's on my stomach because it clings on to like the micro hairs too. So it doesn't really essentially matter because it can still cling on to like what you got.
Crazy. Crazy, crazy,
But yeah,
crazy.
but I would say I feel like it might be a little more difficult, because like as far as like a 70s bush compared to like a
I hear bushes
fucking
are coming back in.
they are. I heard bushes are coming back in. To each their own. I don't give a fuck what you got going on down there. It's never been a thing. Like I've never cared whoever I'm with, a partner I'm with. Me personally, I like a wax. I've been waxing steadily now for like how long? Since 2019? 2019? 6 years. Steadily waxing
Nice.
since then.
Yeah, I
That's just what I'm
started
comfortable with.
back when I was around, like, I was a teenager when I started
Mm-hmm.
and have been on and off since. It's definitely my preference, but, self-care.
You recommended. You were actually the person to recommend waxing to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to where you went, and I was like really like I was like nervous. I was like it's gonna hurt, and like so I don't remember like my first wax being like directly painful. However, I was really young. I think I was 19, so like speaking of 20 something versus 30 something women, your pubes get like thicker and like more coarse usually as you get older and hormone changes and all that shit. Because like nowadays my waxes hurt more now. I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Even though, and the more you wax, the thinner your hair actually gets. But even with that, like the past two waxes I had, perfect, pristine. However, every now and then, sometimes it just grows out a little thicker and you're like, ugh. You're like, oh, good God.
Yep.
But it's so worth it.
It
It's
is.
so worth big stretch.
Mama.
Mama appearance. Yeah. Speaking of
So,
kitties.
right? So, next night is the Hampton Hoedown. So, as we mentioned, this is an annual billionaire tradition in the Hamptons. It's the party of the season. And Samantha got invited by Nina, most likely as a dig. Like, look at what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I want you to hear
100%.
about this. And so Samantha goes and she goes to congratulate her. And she says, I might need her to hire me one day. Because as she's looking around at the party, she's seeing that there are people who don't even show up to her parties that are there.
But don't we love the humility that Samantha had in that moment? She was like, fuck it. She did this shit. Let me go.
Yeah.
And it's the balls of just being like, let me fucking, face it.
Exactly. And that really is something, we, we love Samantha. And But it's honestly, it gets really good. I'm really glad she's really glad that she showed up, I'm sure. But little side note, we see Charlotte run into Greg forcefully. She sees him flirting with another girl, so she runs up to him and she confronts him about giving her crabs. And he tries to like pretend like he didn't hear her at first, and she's like, "You heard me."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You know what? Like, I may have given you crabs, but you lied to me about your age, and that's worse."
Like, go
And
get treated.
she
Like,
literally,
ew.
no, literally, ew. And she tells him, "Grow up," which is fucking funny because she's out here dating a
It is.
child. Not literally
She's
a child. I
27.
know, but compared to her, like, and the men that she
I was
dates, like,
27 a year ago.
but I'm just saying, as
Yeah.
like a 30,
Oh,
probably
yeah.
33-year-old woman, 27 is like, I'm not gonna say it's too young,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a different life
It's a
stage.
difference. It's a
Yeah.
difference. Cause like I've always dated men a little bit older than me. Like my last boyfriend was like 7 years older than me. So yeah, but it's a difference. It
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
It really is. And they just have it out, and it's honestly hilarious. But then Samantha does finally run into Nina, and she goes to wish her good luck. But right after saying, her good job, you're doing it great, whatever, um, Samantha kind of steps back and we watch Nina's party falling apart actively. So several staff members go up to Nina and tell her about huge problems that are happening all around the thing. Like apparently somebody is allergic to hay, and hay was supposed to be kept in only one area of the party.
Mhm.
Her friend comes up to her freaking out. She's like, apparently we're at a goat cheese, somebody got stuck by a cactus needle, and there are people outside who are on the fucking list. And she's just so like with the way she's coming at her, and Nina's like, you are totally coked out right now. And her friend
Whew.
is literally coked up and like freaking out, and it's fucking hilarious because all she has says back
Sometimes,
is, you're just jealous.
truthfully, because I feel like the most times I've ever been focused in my life has been on cocaine. I remember, I don't care. I talk about this all the time. The first time I did cocaine, I said, "Oh, that's what my brain's supposed to feel like." But I have ADHD. I'm not saying this as it's excusatory, but stimulants on an ADHD brain tends to slow it down and tends to let you focus a little bit more. That's why you take Adderall or stimulants. So when I did cocaine for the first time, I literally, like, all the things that were like just went like whoop, and I was like, like all of my like radar, like everything that was like pinging alarms, like just shut off, and I was like, whoa. Yeah. So it was great until I started abusing it.
Oh my gosh. But
There's a very famous quote, or not famous, but like later in the series, Stanford says something. Oh, no. This was in the movies. He goes, "Do you remember that summer I was addicted to coke? I had a cocaine problem." I was like, "That's like me for like for like 2 years."
oh my
That's
gosh.
how I refer back to it. I was like, "Do you remember when I like really was like addicted to cocaine for a little bit?" It
We've
was so
all
fun.
struggled with our addictions. You've seen me struggle. It happens. But you've grown a lot since then and you're doing great.
I'm just so glad I didn't go to detox or rehab now,
Yeah.
working in the field that I work, because I was honestly I was gonna admit myself to the hospital I work at now. And I've had coworkers, they're like, I was working around that time. I was like, I'm really glad I didn't show up.
Oh my god.
That would have been
Seriously.
fun.
I
Because I
mean,
remember all of my patients. Just
I
me
mean,
specifically, like, so
I love like Rock of Love and Flava Flav. It just would have been another cool like reunion, you know?
I was just talking about Rock of Love earlier. And I told Jacob, I was like, can we please watch that together? Because I was like, I felt like my other hat that I purchased is a cow print hat. And I was like, I feel like this one's more Rocket Love. However, at
Mm-hmm.
Party City, there was one that was black. It had rhinestone flames around here. There was rhinestones hanging from the entire rim and white fur. And I
Love.
was like, If that's not rock of love, I don't know what is.
I love that. But oh my gosh, I feel like I'm more of like a brown or black kind of cowgirl hat vibe.
Yeah, you definitely rock brown.
I'm more of a neutrals than a pink
Neutral,
girl.
like, yeah, I feel like what did I get you like to do pink and you're like maybe yes. When we did the photo shoot for the podcast, I got you in pink. But I got you in hot pink. You know, it's a little more it worked. You looked fucking great. If y'all haven't looked at, go to our Instagram, go look at our photo shoot. It was great. It was done really well. We love those pictures. We need to do another photo shoot this year. For sure. I love those pictures. You look fantastic. I styled by moi. I styled everything that day.
She did.
Which I was really happy for. It was like my dream to style a photo shoot, not just for me, but for my best friend and just in general. But yeah, I did that. I did the styling. And you looked fucking great. There's a picture of you where I caught you like mid like turn, and you look so fabulous and so amazing. Like I can't even put into words how great you look in that picture.
I know, right? It's like sex is good and all, but like seeing your best friend look great is like amazing.
Yes, I love that picture. Like, and then like in that picture, like you can just see like my feet crossed too. You just see like my heels, and I'm just like, I'm living. Like everything about this. We found the best picture. We found the best place. Like I love those pictures, and I'm just excited to see what we think of this
next
year.
Time, yeah.
Yeah,
we should definitely get another shoot going this year.
Yeah, I feel like the end of season 3 would be a good time because we'd be halfway through.
I agree.
Yeah.
Man. But yeah, no, Samantha basically comes in and swoops like a hand over and fixes like everything for Nina in like just like a few moments, you know, and in the process of fixing everything, she introduces Nina to Greg.
And you know what's funny? In that scene, you see him scratching, like, as they, like, put the two together, and Nina's, like, sucking on, like, a lollipop or something, or, like, she's, like, sucking her thumb, like, for something, and he's scratching his crotch. She was fucking crabs!
Yeah, she was, like, drinking a drink, and I guess she got a little bit on her hand, so she, like, licks it off.
She's all... And as he's scratching, she's looking down like, ooh. I'm like, no, sweetheart. And this is the difference between someone in their 20s and their 30s as a woman. If a man is scratching his crotch... Run. There's something going on down there that needs to be treated first. Unless he just recently shaved.
So we have Carrie at the party at the big hoedown, and she's just like out there smoking a cigarette. Honestly, her outfit's like honestly kind of cute because it's on theme. She's got a cowgirl hat. She's wearing a bandeau, and it's like snake print, and she's got this really cute skirt. But yeah, no, Laurel.
I tried to like embody like as much as that as possible.
I feel it. I just kind of
like I'm gonna wear my little shirt.
My idea was like dark mode cowgirl disco.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, really how can I be the alternative?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm naturally alternative, I guess.
But we need to put some y'all up in there, some cow punk.
Let me just wear one hat. My tattoos and piercings speak for themselves, which is kind of cool. I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. You don't have to ask questions.
Get my representation in there. But yeah, so Laurel comes up to Carrie and she's just all over her, honestly. Like, she's just like, you know, oh my God, like, where's the guy? How are you having fun? Can I get you another Cosmo? Do you need anything? And Carrie just like kind of brushes her off. And I feel like that's just like the end of Laurel for Carrie. And internally, as she's walking away, Carrie is thinking to herself, I began to realize the biggest threat 20-something girls posed was to themselves. And referring to Laurel specifically, like, annoying, yes, dangerous, no. They are simply our youthful doppelgangers who need our compassion more than anything. And then everything I so firmly believe was promptly blown to pieces.
And this is where we talk about how things start getting good. And here we go.
This
strap in,
moment
bitches.
is the shift of Sex in the City.
Yes.
And this moment, yes, it's the end of season 2, and then we have the next episode, and then that's the end of season 2. But this moment really is that like significant, like we are turning to the next page.
Yeah. I always tell people that. I'm like, once you get past season 2, that's when things really start picking up and you start really seeing like plots thicken and develop. And here we the fuck are.
Here we the fuck are. So Carrie stops dead in her tracks because she sees Mr. Big. And just to kind of help really paint this scene. So Carrie's just walking alone around this party. Everybody's dressed up like cowboys and cowgirls. And she sees Mr. Big very closely speaking with
holding hands, I think.
Holding
I think
hands,
they're like
in front of one another.
In front of one another.
And speaking very closely and obviously very lovingly to one another. And I don't know how important this is, but neither of them are on theme. They're both dressed in very like plain
I
clothing.
noticed that too. They're just wearing what they want to wear,
like very much like, high brand fashion casual kind of whatever. So they're standing close, they're speaking to each other low, looking into each other's eyes, and Carrie walks. I want to really highlight Carrie's dialogue here and try to look at it from both perspectives, because this entire episode we've been walking through with Carrie, but I want to try to expand that perspective and look at it from everybody's perspective, because this dialogue is very interesting here. She walks up to them and the first thing out of her mouth is it you? She's only speaking to Mr. Big.
Yeah.
And he turns to her and is like, hey, what are you doing here? And he's looking around, like he looks really like shocked that she's there. And she flips it back on him. She doesn't answer his questions. She says, what am I doing here? What are you doing here? So she's not even beginning to attempt to effectively communicate. She is just reacting. And Mr. Big and the girl he's with, they just look uncomfortable. And he says, I just got back from Paris. Carrie, this is Natasha. And the girl next to him, Natasha, she smiles warmly and she just says, hi, like, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard so much about you.
Which is, truthfully, I think Natasha comes off right now as a very classy lady, from at least right now. But I feel like that's a subtle dig, because it's something I would say.
In what sense? Like,
in you and him and I have already gotten so close. We've talked about the past. We've talked about things. We're now at the point where we're talking about the past and we're talking about the present. We're talking about the future. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having those conversations. So it's like, oh yeah, this was the girl I was with, blah, blah, blah. He probably told her stories, which is why she's so familiar with who she is. And this is why she was like, oh, I've heard so much about you, and it's nice to meet you though. That's a very subtle but classy power play that I'm very familiar with.
Okay. I kind of had mixed feelings with it. I wasn't quite sure how to take it because I don't think
she was being very respectful.
No, I totally hear you.
She was putting Carrie in her place.
Yeah.
In that moment. That's exactly what she was doing.
But I guess the way that I kind of took it when I was watching the episode was more so like, Mr. Big knows that Carrie's a writer. Mr. Big knows that his love life is printed in a newspaper. Like, it's not hard of a stretch to see that, like, she hangs out with this guy a lot. This is probably who her columns are about. I also imagine that's worth telling the person I'm dating for sure. That, like, I've dated a public figure and my relationship has been broadcasted in the city that I live in.
I never even I think Natasha's life is so much grander than Carrie's that she probably didn't even care.
No, like, hearing what you're saying, I totally see that. That's just where I was originally coming from.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Yeah, no, so she says, like, but her tone is nice at least, and she's acknowledging her. And Carrie, in response to this, all she does is she looks down at her feet and says, "Oh, really?"
Automatically in defeat.
Yeah.
You can see her her visual defeat in this scene.
Yeah. It's very like, yeah. Yeah, she definitely, you were right. She put her in her place. And Natasha excuses herself to let them talk. And, you know, part of acting is body language, and he doesn't say anything, but if you watch his eyes, he watches her leave looking concerned, and then looks at Carrie with this, like, his eyes get big for a second and is like, what the fuck? And then is just, looking at her, waiting for an explanation. And all she has to say is, I'm sorry. I'm just stunned to see you here and confused. Who is she?
Here's also the weird part I was thinking of yesterday when I was thinking about this. If Big doesn't have to explain anything to her.
He really
broke
doesn't.
up.
Yeah.
They
In
broke
fact,
up.
she broke up with him for the second time.
Right. And so it's like you're at this point where, like, you guys broke up. There is no justification to who I'm dating, who I'm seeing, blah, blah, blah. Like, unless you had that relationship where you spoke every day or, you communicated at a different level, they don't. They've equally just been living their lives separately, broken up. So why does it matter?
So the body language and the communication right here between her and him is really interesting, in my opinion. She starts off very much like, who is she? Like, what's going on? Like, confused and just very, like, solemn. And he says, well, I meant to call you. And she's this girl I met in Paris. She works for Ralph Lauren in Europe. And I find it, I don't know, tell me if I'm reading too much into it, but like the fact that he even says she's this girl I met in Paris. He doesn't say she's this woman I met in Paris, which kind of like goes with the theme of like 20 something girls, 30 something women. I thought
maybe they snuck that in writing, but I think,
don't know. But that's just, anyways. She works for Ralph Lauren in Europe, and Carrie asks him, so you're just in Paris for this weekend? And he says, no, the Paris deal fell through. I planned on calling you. I certainly didn't want to run into you like this. So even he's saying, like, I don't like what's happening here.
No shit.
And she starts actually speaking up a little bit, and she says, well, life is random. My date is around here somewhere. He's good on paper, like Natasha, I'm sure. And then she like pops her hand on her hip right here and kind of bucks up a little bit and is like, how old is she anyway?
Okay.
And he says, I don't know, 26, 27. And she's like, something like that, I'm sure, and walks away. And she's just like, I'll see you in the city, or I'll see you in the Hamptons. I don't care. Goodbye. And he again promises to call when he's back in town. So Carrie runs away to the beach, and Miranda, I guess, saw her running towards the beach and chases after her, like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? And Carrie just tells her, no, I ran into Big. He's back from Paris. He has a new girlfriend, and she's 26. And then starts vomiting just on the beach. And internally, Carrie says, then I realized 20-something girls are just fabulous until you see one with the man who broke your heart.
Yeah, but that's so subjective. Like, she could have been, Big's new girlfriend could have been 32, and Carrie still would have equally been as brokenhearted. Let's be real. It doesn't matter who it is. There's a lot of, I've had that, especially like, I guess it's been the kind of recent past here where my ex moved on with someone a lot older than me. And I was like, no offense to her, but I was just kind of like, what the fuck? You're just like, well, what the hell? What is this? And it's just kind of like that dynamic of like, this is like now vastly different than who I am. You always think about that. You're just like, damn, that's like completely off.
Oh, I've never had that thought. When I've seen the people that I've been with the people that they're with currently, I guess the only thing that ever really goes through my head when I see them is I hope they're getting treated better than I was. I hope that they
Yeah,
like
that
learn
too.
their mistakes with me so that they're cool with that person. But like, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
but
I guess,
also I'm just like, I selfishly have to be like, why?
huh. But that's like an interesting perspective because it's like, you know, what do you see in them that you didn't see in me? Is there something that they
Mm-hmm.
have that I prefer? That you
Mm-hmm.
prefer, I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I don't know if I've had that thought explicitly like that, but I feel like I've had very similar thoughts. Like maybe if I was like thinner the way that that person is, maybe then you would have liked me, kind of like vibes.
Yeah. And it's specifically in the past, and I mean, this is just probably like demographically, but I feel like a lot of my exes move on to someone after me, always with children. And for some reason, I think it's like not a thing. I think it's not intentional, but I think it's my also insecurity of like I don't have kids yet, where I'm just like,
Yeah, because that's
really?
something that's never crossed my mind at all.
And I'm just like, so you didn't want anything to do with me, this and that. You wanted no future. And now you're already moving on to someone who already has children.
Yeah.
What is that? I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You didn't want to fuck up the first time and then, no. All right. Well,
I just think it's interesting going back to how Carrie has a completely different take on 20-something-year-old women now. So
yeah.
we did end up meeting that third person and we were able to kind of round out this whole view of 20-something women in the sum of 20-something women that we meet. We met Nina, who was very
Mm-hmm.
like loud, obnoxious, and like kind of like a hothead. She's very, but like
Right.
very passionate too. And then we
She's
met,
like Samantha.
yeah, but like as a 20-something-year-old, yeah.
Right.
Oh wow, I never thought of that. And then Carrie's, yeah, wow, I never put that one together. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, we get Laurel, and she's literally a fucking virgin at 25. There's nothing wrong with that, but like it's the literal complete opposite.
It's Charlotte.
It's like
That's
literally.
Charlotte at 25.
It really is actually. And I guess with a hint of Carrie in there, 'cause she is a writer too.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool seeing that like that like arc of character. And then we
Yeah.
meet Natasha, who while is also within their age group is like in a completely different category. And I think for the first time, like, openly they're saying like that one intimidates me. Like, she's like really acting like, very like smaller than her. And in her
Mm-hmm.
actions, like the shit, Natasha was very classy, very polite, but also very like, this is what it is. And it's a very different perspective and very different like personality than the
Well,
other
it's kind of
two.
like what you and I were talking about earlier, because I feel like the women we've worked with that we've had issues in the past, there are women who are younger than us or around the same age as us who work with us, and they had no issue.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're like, the fuck did I do?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I could totally see that. Where it's like, yeah, huh. So it's like, I guess if like in a way it's like you don't intimidate me, you're fine. But if you intimidate
Mm-hmm.
me, now we have a problem.
Yep,
And
that's all it is. That's the entirety of this episode. It's truthfully is that there is no women don't give a fuck unless they see you as a competition.
yeah. Yeah. Cause
Point
like,
blank.
yeah. But Samantha though, she was like better when she became a competition. She was able to be
Yeah.
like, okay, like obviously she's doing something right, and went to go like congratulate her. But when Carrie had somebody buck up to her, she definitely was like, I don't like this one anymore. Like,
That is crazy the way she did that though. Like
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
have a backbone, dude.
Yeah.
Have
I
a
mean,
fucking
granted,
backbone.
I feel like like I do kind of feel like she should have backed down in that moment because she was in the wrong. She should have spoken to both of them. She should have not been so like accusatory and demanding answers. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. Just been like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever. Like,
and
nice to meet you. How hard is it to come off and be respectful and just be like,
yeah,
oh yeah, cool. Like, I hope guys have a great night.
and like I
It's
understand
not hard to play that shit
it's
off.
not, and like I understand having an emotional reaction, but like
Of
running
course.
away to the beach like that, like I don't.
It's embarrassing. Like, people can see you.
Obviously, because Miranda saw it happen and ran
Yeah. And
after
now you're
her.
throwing up like a
Like a
27-year-old that you
like
were
like
so
the 20
complaining about.
literally, and it's just interesting because, like, you know sorry, I've seen stuff on the internet, like, about Natasha, and one thing is that she very much, like, acts beyond her years.
Mm-hmm.
That
She's
is
very
she
classy.
is, and it's, like, a very defining character feature about her, and, like, that is something that in this whole episode we saw Carrie being the mentor to Laurel and acting like the adult with her and like really going
Mm-hmm.
off, and like
And now we have this big
we
shift.
have a complete flip, and now she's throwing up on the beach just like that other girl was, and Natasha's the one politely excusing herself.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just is a whole flip on that, and it's just interesting how quickly she unraveled. I don't know.
Yeah. And we'll see how this pans out in the next couple episodes for sure. Like we said, this is probably the most pivotal point in the series thus far. So we will see what happens specifically in the next episode, which is the season finale of season 2, and then going into season 3. So we'll see how that pans out with Big and Natasha and everyone else. But yeah, so defining moment to say the least in the series.
No, really. But things are shifting. It's like Charlotte said, like that was the last summer that they could do something like that. Shit's starting,
Right.
shit's beginning. And
Right.
it's gonna be kind of a roller coaster, but I'm excited to ride this ride with y'all.
Me too. I think we're still planning on possibly doing a live for the season finale again, like we did last for season 1. So I think that's in the mix. So super excited for that. Oh, I forgot the next one's going to be live.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, that's going to be so much easier to do. But yeah, so I'm very excited to finish out season 2. My goodness.
I know. I'm really glad we made it, and we're gonna keep making
Me
it.
too.
And
Yeah.
I have so many opinions on the movies. We have to make our way through the show too, so I can get
We're
there.
getting there. We're getting there. We're about to be starting halfway through season 3. There's 6 seasons.
Exactly. So
We're getting there.
well,
We are getting there. But yeah, so hold on tight to see what happens if you've not watched. If you've already watched, y'all already know. So we're going to keep on trucking through the series. But yeah, so here was our season 2, episode 18, 20-something girls versus
sorry.
30-something
I think
women.
it was episode 17.
Oh, I'm sorry. 17.
It's
Sorry,
okay.
18 is the next one.
I apologize, y'all, for the typos.
You're good.
It is Studio 54, not 55.
You know what's funny? Studio 54 is also a slight foreshadowing into like the very later seasons too,
It is.
which I thought was kind of interesting. So yeah, a lot of little hidden things there. I think there's a lot of foreshadowing in this episode for sure. Like
Had a
specifically.
lot of
Yeah.
little Easter eggs for the
Little
rest of the
things.
show.
But yeah.
Definitely tried to point out as many as I could find. So if y'all know of any more, let us know.
Yeah. So thanks for coming to our hoedown. Howdy, bitches. How do you say goodbye? What's the equivalent of howdy but goodbye?
So long. Farewell.
So long, farewell.
Yeah. Later, alligator.
And a wild crocodile. I don't know. I'm like, what's? I'm like, we're from the South. We should know all the stupid sayings. No idea. Anyway, thank you guys for listening along and joining along. We will always love and cherish all the support and everything. So we are super excited to keep this going. We'll see you guys back in hopefully the next couple weeks here live. And so you guys will get more information on when the date and time of that is going to be, because we haven't even planned that yet. But we will, and that'll be really exciting. It'll be multiple platforms for sure. What did we do? YouTube and Facebook for sure. And I think YouTube. Oh yeah. YouTube, Facebook. And then I'm going to try and do Instagram, I think. So we're going to figure that one out.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so super excited. We got some more things in the works too, like what we were saying. We're still going to be figuring that out. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for joining us and for listening along. We'll catch you guys for the season finale of season 2. So hell yeah. So bye, bitches.
Later,
See
y'all.
y'all next time.
Oh, there it is. Later, y'all.
Later, y'all. Later, bitches.
Later, bitches.
All right. Bye.